All right, so I am working on these hand assets, and I'm figuring out how I'm going to make them grab the hat, and I think I know how. But I also think that I can customize them a little bit. So I'm going to use my brush, pretty small, and I'm just going to make a few more little adjustments to these hands. Just give them a little bit more texture. Because I set these assets up to use later. And that's about as far as they're ever going to come in to the frame. So I don't need to worry about the sleeves. And this reminds you that you can just add your own pixels for this project, as long as you're using something you've already created, some asset created previously. All right, so what's next? I'm going to duplicate these hands. Let's darken a few things. They are a little light and transparent. But remember, this is going to be low resolution GIF animation too, so it's going to go by pretty quick. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate these hands. Command J. And on those duplicates, I'm going to cut away what I think needs to be cut away for it to look like it's grabbing this hat. And the first thing, I'm just going to use my lasso with a 2-pixel feather. First thing is the thumb is going to hook under that brim. Right there. Good. Same thing with the other hand. This is on a duplicate. It'd be really dumb for me to make the hand and then cut off the tip of the thumb, because I need the tip of the thumb for when the hands move into the frame. Because though my keyframe shows on my sketch that the hands just grab it, then hands need to come in. So I need at least one frame in between that shows the complete hands coming and grabbing. Okay, next, I need to get rid of, I think it's this back finger. Oh, too much. So that it's stuck behind the brim. And that's starting to work. I'm actually going to take my feather down to just 1 pixel because my resolution is pretty low at screen resolution. So I'm just going to trim that out. Trim this out. Oh, that's on a different layer, I guess. There we go. And now that hand looks like it's grabbing the hat. Do you guys agree? It works. So the other hand, same thing. I'm just going to trim this one slightly differently because the hand is positioned slightly differently. Oh. Too much. Too much. Hold down Option, subtract from the selection. There we go. All right, so now I have this hand grabbing the hat from both sides. And I did the painting for it. I got to make sure they're clean. So I'm going to actually take the painting for the hand from this side. This is why this is all about compositing. Duplicate it. Then erase it from this hand layer. So it's on its own layer. This is the shading I want to apply to this hand. And then merge those two together. So I have clean, cut-out hands. There we go. And now I have intact hands. So for the next frame, in between these two, I'm going to move these hands just in a little bit. I got to do the same thing. Darn it. I just had to paint more on top of them. So duplicate it, then erase it from underneath, and then merge it with the hand it belongs to. And I haven't labeled these yet. So I'm going to put this right hand, I'm going to label this one left hand, all right, now my assets are clean. And then I'm going to back it off. So I'm going to turn off auto select layer because that can get me in trouble sometimes. And I'm just going to move it to back here. And I'm going to move this one, this one to down here. And this is going to be my next frame. So what do? I select every layer, even the ones turned off. Hold down Shift. Select all of them. Hold down Option. Say Layer, Merge Layers. It gives me a combined layer at the top. Command A to select it all. Command C to copy it all. Click on the stage. Command V to paste it in. Now I've got 2 animation frames. Next, I'm going to deselect Command D and delete that merged layer and then set up my next hands, which are grabby, and I'll label them. This is grab left. And this is grab right. And now this is my next animation frame. I select every layer, even the ones turned off, by holding down Shift, select them all. Hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Layers. Command A to select it all. Command C to copy it all. Click on my stage. Command V to paste it in. And now I've got 3 animation frames. And I can test the animation very simply just by turning on and off these eyeballs. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone understand so far? Now I've gotten to my second frame. Now for the third frame, I have to create more assets. So I save my stage. And then now I deselect on my assets, delete that merged layer, keep the hands there. But this time I'm going to select both those hand layers. I'm going to say Command J, and then while they're both selected, Command E, because as they're attached to the hat, I might as well have them locked together. So they move together. Then I'm going to duplicate the hat, Command J, move that up with those grabby hands. I think this will work. I'm going to make a duplicate of the combined grabby hands and merge those with the hat. So select those, merge them together. So now all of that is one. And my thinking is the asset I need to build is a long domed brown shape that that can exist while I pull this asset down. So what is that going to look like? If I hold down Shift while I move, whoops. I want it first to move to about there. Make sense? So I need to add a new layer underneath it. I'm going to make this green. This is my grabbed hat. I'm going to make a new layer underneath it. But I'm going to do it with the shape tools. I'm going to make an ellipse. And before I do that, I need to see where the ellipse started. So I need to match this hat, which is tricky. So I'm going to do that. I take its opacity down. This is a vector shape, so it will be clean. By Option-Command-T, transforming it. Option-Command-T, right-clicking. I'm going to try to warp it so it matches this curve at the brim of the hat. Pretty important. I've got it. Good. Now, I'm going to hit Return. And now I'm going to do Option-Command-T and try to get these sides to be a straight to line up with the edge. While still matching the brim at the top. I think that's going to work best if I do this first. Just really stretch this down. Come on. And then just tuck that back up. Like rolling dough. Something I haven't tried is using puppet warp on vector shapes. But I actually don't see why it wouldn't work. So I could try that too. Edit, puppet warp. Yep, it won't work. Never mind. Can't use it on vector shapes. But I could always rasterize it and then use it. Okay, so now I'm going to use Option-Command-T and I'm going to use Distort. Nope, don't want to do that. All right, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to take it to 100%. And I'm going to double click while it's still a vector shape, and I'm going to match that color from the hat. Then I'm going to rasterize it. And then I'm going to cut it off. Right down here. Make sense? But there's a problem. This is almost the frame I need. But the problem is I've still got this hat showing. So I have to turn that off. And then the other problem is there's no gradation there. I want just a slight gradation. So I'm going to do a gradient overlay. That's a really strong gradation. And let's see, I want super subtle. So I'm going to take this color and then gradate it to, no. Then this color I want to gradate to this. Interesting. Huh. I think I have to maybe click OK here before it will let me move on. Yes, and then I want to change this color and gradate that to more like this. Not sure why it's not matching exactly. And now I can play with the scaling of it, of that gradient, and I'm going to